It was my first market ever. I had no idea what I was doing. And I had a lot of fun. I met so many people. I was outdoors and people were trying my product and they'd never heard of tallow. They'd never felt it, smelt it, any of those things. And they really enjoyed it. And so I just felt so much love in my heart where I was like, oh my gosh, I have my friends and family, which is a small little pocket, but if I can get it out there in these markets like I did, I can share it with the world.
Welcome. We're back to an amazing episode with Tami Taddo of Taddo's Tallow here on Beating the Brand podcast. I'm so excited to have you, Tami. Tami's the founder of Taddo's Tallow. It is a tallow-based skincare brand that is just blowing up right now. And I'm so excited to do this interview with you, Tami, and learn the inner workings of the brand and how you got to here.
Yes. Thank you, Aggie, for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you today and just very excited to be here.
Yeah, let's dive right in. So sure. You actually started Taddo's Tallow from this transformative journey that you were going through. Part of it was that you were dealing with eczema, but you also had gone through skin cancer as well. And that sort of prompted you to create your own skincare line. Can you talk to me a little bit about the impetus of this brand?
Yes. So for many years, I suffered with eczema, mainly on my arms and my legs. It was just really itchy. And I live in Southern California, or Central California. And so shorts and tank tops are kind of a daily wear out here. So just having red, scaly skin just wasn't very attractive or felt really good, showing off my bumps.
For sure.
And then in 2021, in 2021, I got a phone call from my dermatologist, and they told me that I tested positive for skin cancer. And at the time, I was working at a hospital as a respiratory therapist. And for many days, just the words, "you have skin cancer," just kept running through my head. And so kind of after I came out of the fog a few days later, I made a very, conscious choice to start going clean and natural in in my skincare. I was using, brands that weren't the cleanest. And so I did a lot of research trying to make the change, and I discovered tallow. And as I was doing my research, I found out that tallow actually helps with eczema as well. And so I tried it, and within a week, my eczema was gone. So there I am with no eczema, no itchy skin, no flaky skin. It was just literally life-altering for me. And I kept using it and kept giving samples to friends and family, just having them try it. And they were just as in love with it as I had become. So I decided to quit my job as a respiratory therapist. And this was right before COVID. And I'm kind of thankful I got out of the hospital scene at that point. And that's when I started Taddo's Tallow.
Incredible. And so how long had you been struggling with eczema?
Oh, at least 10 years.
And longer. Were you trying different solutions? Walk me through what you tried, both from maybe regular pharmacy products to medicated products. Walk me through what you were trying to do to fix it.
I tried so many things. So I tried mostly over-the-counter lotions that were specific towards eczema. Those provided a little bit of relief, but it wasn't a long-term relief, nor did it last all day long. It was just a part of the day, my eczema felt fine, and then it would flare up again throughout the day.
It was a topical Band-Aid solution.
Correct. Yeah, a temporary topical Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yes.
I also tried like different types of soaps. I also tried taking like not hot showers, like more of a cooler,
Mhm.
lukewarm shower, so it just wouldn't like dry out my skin, and that didn't work for sure. And just some days I just dealt with it and kind of, I guess, suffered through it, and
Mhm.
then I would wear certain clothing to hide when I had really bad flare ups. Like I would wear long dresses or pants or long sleeve shirts and sweaters. So it was, it was quite a journey trying to find something that would work for me. And um, thankfully, I found tallow. And unfortunately, I had to have a skin cancer diagnosis in order to do that. But I am glad that I did discover tallow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because tallow is such an unconventional ingredient. And even those who eventually went on a journey of switching to, natural skincare for whatever reason, they don't always or often stumble onto tallow. So like, tell me more about like do you remember like the what you actually discovered? Like, was it something like a paper that you read or something that you read, and then what made you believe in its power so strongly, and how did you convince yourself that it could work?
So I was doing a deep dive into the internet, and I was just like, started where it would be conventional, and then I started going into more of the unconventional tactics for helping with eczema. And I just, saw tallow here and there, and then all of a sudden I started seeing it everywhere. And it really
Huh.
piqued my interest. And the really cool thing about tallow is that's basically kind of all you need. You don't need anything else to mix with it in order
That's
to
so
help
cool.
your eczema. So really all you need is that, and you're good to go.
Pure ingredient.
Mhm.
And
So I I guess I'm a carnivore, so I was okay with it. And it piqued my interest where I'm like, oh, interesting, tallow. Okay. Like, I'll give it a go because I tried everything else. And so,
right. And how did you
why
get
not?
your hands on it? Like,
Um,
where did you find it?
so I went to my local health food store, and they actually sold tallow for cooking. And so,
Oh my gosh.
and
That's so
so,
funny.
yeah, and I bought a jar of it, and I just like tried it, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I started also doing a little bit more research and adding more ingredients, different ingredients, just kind of putting my brain to work. It was actually a lot of fun. I felt like a mad scientist.
I love it. And obviously it worked. And so tell me a little bit more about like, what is tallow? Just for those who may be listening and have never heard of tallow, tell us exactly what is tallow, and what are the sort of common benefits of it for the skin.
So tallow is beef tallow, and it's rendered fat. And so when I first started working with tallow, and like I said, I found it in the grocery store for cooking, I also learned that you want to use suet, which is a specific type of fat that actually
Huh.
comes from around the kidneys, versus the fat that
Interesting.
I was starting with, which was like your trim fat, which you get from a steak. So,
Oh my god.
so, so suet,
Okay.
which is what you want for skincare. Actually, it's the same pH as our skin. It's bioidentical, has all the
Interesting.
essential fatty acids and same lipids as our skin, as the
Hmm.
acid, CLA, all the goodies. And that's why, it's known to be so good for our skin, moisturizing, and why it also helps with eczema. And it actually absorbs into your skin. So when you put on like a lotion that contains water or other ingredients like that, it sits on top of your skin. So when you wash your hands, you wash it off.
Right.
But tallow actually absorbs into our skin. And so you can wash your hands 10 times a day and your skin is still nice and soft.
Fascinating. Okay. This is so interesting.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And, like once you try, I've had so many customers come back and like write reviews or personally tell me in emails, or if I see them at my local farmer's market, they'll just say that now they won't use anything else but tallow because it is such a game changer.
That's incredible. And I know there's some controversy too around tallow. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So tallow, obviously you have to get it from an animal, from a cow. But these cows aren't used only for tallow. And where I get my tallow from, I get it from a regenerative family-owned farm in Washington State. And they're pasture raised, they're 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, and it's just a byproduct of this farm. And so it's using the whole entire animal. So it's no waste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think that it's interesting that there's obviously, like, people have different perspectives on the ethics around any kind of beef product, especially if they, are animal conscious. But I actually think that this approach, is like, it's upcycling ingredients. It's making sure that no ingredients go to waste, which I think is very ethical. So yeah, I'm glad that you shared that, because I think it's what's interesting in working with you, Tami, and in, looking at applying tallow to different awards and, different organizations. Some get it, right? Like, some businesses have caught on and they're, they get it. But then others there's been some pushback as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. A big piece of working with tallow is a lot of education. Even though tallow is centuries old, they actually would find tallow in Egyptian tombs. So that's how far back it's dated. And it was used centuries ago for candles, soap, and skincare. But then petroleum came into play. And petroleum is man-made, mass-produced, and very cheap. And so tallow, it's not readily available in mass quantities. And so because petroleum then tallow kind of got pushed aside. And now that people are becoming more health conscious and trying to get back to their roots, tallow is actually making a comeback and is becoming more known. And it's just also educating. Like, I had no idea about tallow, and then I got educated. And now that I have my business, I am out there educating others through, like, in person, in my markets, podcasts, and just trying to, tallow is a good, safe product, and I fully believe in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the power of your product too. And I actually, I love the balm. I use the deodorant every day. So I love and endorse your products. Tell me more about, you combine tallow with other natural ingredients. What was your sort of process to figure out what was that perfect formula? And what was that first product that you created?
So my first product, the OG, is a lotion bar. And I did all this ingredient research, and I know that, like, a solid lotion bar was like the way to go. And so I started using shea butter, and I didn't like it because it was super, like, kind of gooey for me. I just felt wet all day long. So then I switched to mango butter. And mango butter is just as good of an ingredient. It's actually naturally antimicrobial, has tons of vitamin C in it, and it surprisingly comes from a pit of a mango. So you just grind it up and there's your mango butter.
Wow. I did not know that. Wow. That's a fun fact right there.
And then, of course, I had to add beeswax just to make it more solid. And I would hold the bar in my hand and then put it on my skin, but then it would melt in my hand and I would waste a lot of product, and it would just wasn't a really nice user experience. So then I put it in a stick form where you don't have to hold it in your hands. And your body heat actually melts it. So that's why it would just kind of get a little messy. And all of my formulations are waterless. So they're also preservative free. And so then you don't have like those endocrine disruptors in your skincare products.
Absolutely.
And then as I went through, after I made the bar into a stick, then I, was very conscious about deodorants and how they have aluminum in it. And, they don't say that it's specifically linked to breast cancer, but they also do say, that it's linked to breast cancer. And having that cancer scare, like that's the last thing I want to mess with. So I decided to, experiment and try to make a natural deodorant. And I also experimented with other ingredients to make it an antiperspirant. So I added arrowroot powder and kaolin clay. And they say when you switch to a natural deodorant, you need to do a mask just to get all those impurities out. And they suggest doing like a kaolin clay mask. So to help that along, that's why I added it as an ingredient into my deodorant. And I also don't include baking soda because a lot of people report breakouts and rashes with baking soda because it's pretty harsh. So all of my ingredient choices are very conscious and very heavily researched too.
I love arrowroot, actually. I use it. What I used it for? I used it for my son instead of baby powder, because it's also linked to being, potentially cancer causing. I used arrowroot powder instead, like just from the store, like a food store. And that's all we use instead of baby powder. So arrowroot is a great ingredient. Okay, so moving on to your business journey, and you created this first product, this lotion stick, and you went through different iterations. You finally found that it took, you got it to where you wanted it to be. What did the next steps look like? How did you say, okay, how am I going to sell this product? What did you do to put it out there?
Well, first kind of started out as a hobby. Like I mentioned, I gave samples or product to friends and family, and then they loved it so much. I was approached by friends saying like, hey, why don't you try a farmer's market? And I was like, okay, let's try it. So I did a market, and it was right before the holidays. It was in December, and it was my first market ever. I had no idea what I was doing, and I had a lot of fun. I met so many people. I was outdoors, and people were trying my product, and they'd never heard of tallow. They'd never felt it, smelt it, any of those things, and they really enjoyed it. And so I just felt so much love in my heart where I was like, oh my gosh, I have my friends and family, which is a small little pocket, but if I can get it out there in these markets like I did, I can like share it with the world. And so I continued to do more markets, and then I got my online store up, and getting into markets was easier to get the word out in the education, and then have people like actually try it, because people wonder if it's going to be greasy, or if it's going to smell funny or feel funny. So
Yeah, for sure. And it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
But I can understand like the concern and this being a product that really sells well in person because it is different and unique and it's something perhaps people are unfamiliar with. And like you said, maybe they're wondering about the smell or the consistency. And so it seems like a no-brainer that this would be a good fit for retail, for selling wholesale. And we've seen that it has. Tell us a little bit more about like your wholesale journey, because you're currently in over 25 stores. You just, right before we got on this call, you mentioned that you fulfilled like 11 reorders with retailers where the product is absolutely flying off the shelves. Like sometimes you're getting it into doors and then a week or two later you're getting calls for reorders. So talk us through like your wholesale journey.
It was actually a lot of fun for me when I first started trying to get into retail. So luckily I live in a really wonderful, supportive community that is all about supporting members and also small businesses. So in the beginning, I would go to a little boutique store that I felt comfortable going to with a little Tupperware full of my products.
Yeah.
And I would just walk in and just, introduce myself, mention that I am a local community member, that I hand make all my products. I'm a small business. I have this tallow skincare line. I did have to do a lot of education to the health and wellness managers, but I also brought samples so they could try it. And it was actually pretty easy to get into the first few stores. So,
awesome.
Yes. So very, very thankful and grateful for that.
And what was it that made it easy?
Some stores appreciated the hustle, and also
nice.
meeting the maker, the founder, and also like hearing my story, hearing my journey, and just learning about the benefits of the product and why and how I got started, and then actually experiencing the product. It was kind of a no-brainer for them. That's how their response was. And so all the orders started out very small, but then they would like reorder and it would be bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was just so fulfilling. And then I would also check in on the stores just to see how the product was moving, if they had any questions, if, I could participate in any way by doing like a little pop-up in front of their store and having, passerbys or customers sample it and then send them into the store to purchase. And it just kind of, it grew from there. And then tallow became a more popular ingredient. And I actually did go to a local spa here in town and approach them, and they were asking a lot of good questions, and then they came back to me and said, "I'm sorry, we're really not interested at this time. We don't think tallow would be good for our customers, that they would respond well to that." And I would say a little over a year later, she actually called me and said, "We'd love to carry your product in our store. We're ready." And they've had multiple reorders. And anytime I go in and talk to the staff, they always comment like, "Our customers are so happy that you're here."
So that makes me so happy. So walk me through, I know it's one part and it's one piece to be able to get into retailers, right? But it's a whole nother to stay in there to get reorders like you do. I mean, I think we were looking at the numbers we were seeing of frequency of reorders of like somewhere between 4 and 6 a year. So what does it require in order to sell through with these retailers? And I guess the part 2 question to that is, how do you continue to sell through and get these reorders? I know you're also partnering with larger sort of multi-store retailers now too. So what is your sell-through strategy?
Communication, showing up, calling, doing all the things. One of my biggest things that's so important to me is good customer service. Whether you be a retailer or you just be an individual customer that purchases online or in person. And so I love having those type of relationships. And I think it's really important to checking in, showing up, emailing, and also I love to give samples to the staff so that they can actually feel the product as well. I had one location in particular where I gave all the staff members samples, and they would never have tried it otherwise. And so they loved it so much that they would come in and tell their customers who are looking for a skincare product, saying like, oh my gosh, you have to try this. It feels so good and is so good for you. And that's incredibly helpful. And also, little educational pieces. I have this little educational pamphlet, which talks about my journey, also talks about each product and a little description. And so then, if you saw a random skincare product and you know nothing about it, like how can you sell it? So if you also give them a little piece of information, and some people might be like, oh my gosh, there's mango butter in here. That's amazing. I love mango butter. And just kind of goes from there.
Amazing. So relationships, following up, hustling, and making sure that you have the right information and education, not just for the consumer facing, but also for the team, for the sales staff, for the, for the retailer, for the buyers, for everyone that is where the product is touching them, essentially.
Yes. And samples, for sure. Samples.
And lots of sampling. Okay. Yes. Sampling is key.
Yes.
So then any specific marketing strategies that have helped you surpass 6 figures?
Being consistent. I ran ads for a short period of time. I also really work hard on blogs. That seems to really help. Especially with my SEO. And also backlinks are really important. So all of these retailers that I am in, they have me on their sites, so I have those backlinks. And so that's, I never understood that until I got into this, and I was like, oh, okay.
It all fuels, it's just all fuels itself.
Yes.
All the internal linking and backlinking helps tremendously because it's just driving people, to you, to the store, and in a cycle.
And like you always say, consistently showing up definitely helps.
Yeah. And I think one of the plans for this year was really going hard with Wholesale. And you were incredibly, and I always say this, but Gold Star, you were so incredibly consistent with just going in on one thing and not getting diverted by the 20 or 30 shiny things that you could potentially be doing, which you're not saying no to, it's just no now, right? It's saying yes to 1 or 2, maybe 3 things that you're focusing on for the year, and that's it, and not spreading yourself thin, especially as a founder with a tiny team.
Yeah. I actually did just hire somebody to help me with production. She comes in 3 days a week, which I see the benefit of that now because I can be secure and feel confident that I can scale my business. So when I do get those orders to fulfill 11 retail locations, I can do it because I'm ready and I'm good to go.
Yep. Tami, I love that you're saying that, but talk me through the process that it took to get there.
Yes.
Because I think our listeners are all going if for transparency purposes, Tami Tami is a graduate of C2C, our signature program. She's also a member of our mastermind, and she, I think this will relate to a lot of folks who are listening who are kind of in those earlier stages. She's someone who, struggled a bit to, make that hire. Talk us through that, because I think it'll be helpful for those people who are also potentially resistant to make that first hire.
Yeah, I definitely dug my heels in when it came to that. And it was scary. It was scary for me. It was scary to make that leap. It was scary to have to pay somebody to show up and help, because, I felt like I was barely surviving financially in my business at the time. And so I couldn't imagine having to shell out more money to somebody that I have to pay.
Yeah.
And so I kept dipping my toe in, and then I'd pull my toe out, and then I'd dip it back in, and then I'd pull it back out. And then I finally was able to commit, and gosh, I saw the benefits. Now I have 4 people on my team, and some of the benefits took a little bit longer, like with my SEO guy, seeing that play through. But gosh, I don't know if I could survive without him now. And having someone helping me with my media and marketing and my emails and blogs, like that's, stuff that has a return that shows up later. But gosh, I couldn't do it without them. And I don't have time to write all of those emails or do all those blogs. I'm busy making product and servicing my online orders, my markets, and especially my wholesale. And now that I have somebody helping me with production, we're twice as fast, because I was doing it by myself. And now that she's there, it's just going twice as fast. And when I get those big orders that I have, several wholesale reorders waiting for me to fulfill right now, I can do it, and I can do it quickly and efficiently. And it's so, so important to have a team. And it took me a while to understand that, but I fully understand it now.
I love that. That makes me so happy, because for transparency purposes, in January of this year, right now we're recording this in November. So in January of this year, you didn't have any help. You were just a 1-person show. And now we're November, and you are a 4-person show. So you have someone who's doing your emails and your social, you have someone who's doing production, and then you have a VA. And what does your VA support you with? I know there's there's 2 roles that kind of swapped, but can you walk us through the progression of the hires? Like, who did you hire first? Who did you hire second? Who did you hire third?
First, I hired SEO. I knew how important SEO is, and I don't understand it. And I also don't have the time to understand it. So what better to source it out to a professional? 'Cause that's all they do. So first was SEO, then was marketing, for like email marketing and a little bit of social media. And I was writing my own emails, but I was only getting like 1 out a month, maybe, because I didn't have time to do all the things. And so I hired for email, and that became more consistent for all of my subscribers. And because of that, I continue to get more subscribers to my email.
And sales.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get sales on all of your emails for the most part.
Yeah. And just, that's still consistency, consistently showing up in their email boxes. And then after that, I hired a VA. She was to help me with reaching out to wholesale accounts. And those roles swapped. So now the one that was helping me, Jen, who was helping me with email and social media, is now helping me with wholesale accounts. And we are very excited for January, because we're just going to hit it hard and heavy. And now that I have such good wholesale accounts, retailers that I currently service, I believe it'll be much easier to get into more and newer wholesale accounts because I'm mostly going towards the natural food markets.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have that game plan. And then just recently hired a production helper. And it's just how much we can accomplish in one day. It's pretty awesome.
I love that. I love that for you so much.
Yes.
And what would you say, like, if you could pinpoint 3 things that have helped you, get to your first 6 figures, what do you think those 3 things would be?
Absolutely hiring. And that's just a gem that I pushed back on so hard, but hiring. Also customer service. I take care of my customer first because I appreciate good customer service. And I also want to make my customer happy. So if anyone has a question or, I respond to incoming emails very quickly and I'll go into great detail. I won't just give them like a passive comment on their emails. I will actually go into detail and nurture them and kind of handhold them through their questions. And if a customer has a product and I had somebody order online and she didn't like the smell of her product, so I swapped it out for her, no problems, no questions asked, like just, taking care of that customer. And she's been back over and over and over again. And I have gotten a couple of emails saying that they appreciate, their customer service and that they're, really truly working with a small business. And they also appreciate that because that's what they want to support. And number 3 is probably consistently showing up and just being there. I'm not some fly-by-night kind of company. Like, people get to know me. I've had people that have seen me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're Tami. And they just it's kind of cute. They get really excited that they see me because and it tickles me pink. So I appreciate it.
I love that. I love that so much. I think I would, I think those 3 things are definitely, priorities and have been priorities. Absolutely. To grow that business to 6 figures and beyond. And now, what's the strategy for growing this to the next milestone?
Yeah, I just want to keep getting into wholesale. I want to pursue the natural health food markets. I really appreciate the smaller boutique ones, not like your big Whole Foods, Sprouts kind of locations. And they're a small business as well, so I want to support them, and that's important to me. And just focusing on wholesale online orders. I was, as you know, doing a crazy mass amount of markets, and I am so excited for next year to barely doing any.
Tell us, okay, actually, I love that you mentioned that. Tell us how many markets you were doing last year and how many markets you streamlined to for this year.
So last year I was doing about 13 to 15 markets a month.
That is absolute insanity.
It was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting. And I did build a lot of relationships in the community, and I really, really, truly appreciate that. And then also I would travel to LA, and, just doing all that traveling, it's a lot of work, and it didn't have a lot of reward, which was, super disappointing. But I was doing so many. And then towards the end of this year, I'm maybe there are some months where I don't do any markets. For November and December, I'm doing about 2 to 3 a month. But I'm just, because of the holidays is the reason why I'm doing it. And then for 2025, I'll probably maybe do 5 or 6, not many, just the really big markets that I always succeeded at and that I
A
show up
year,
every
5 to
single
6
year.
a year.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
year. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so this year you probably did about 10, a little bit more
Probably.
than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say probably 15.
Okay.
But
So
then for
essentially
sure,
going from doing like 15, like 10 to 15 a month to
yeah.
doing 15 a year to then next year doing like 5 to 6 a year.
Yes. I'm
Love it.
so excited about that.
Me too. I'm excited for that for you. Can you tell us like a pinch me moment in your business journey? Was there like a moment that you were like, oh my gosh, like, am I really doing this? Or, wow, what an accomplishment.
So I have a couple of pinch me's. Just people just saying how much they enjoy my products. Just knowing that I've made something that pleases somebody else so greatly. And I had one customer in particular. This was at a farmer's market. They stopped by my booth. They were telling me that their daughter has eczema on the palm of her hand, and it heals all the time. And she was so embarrassed to hold her boyfriend's hand, and it just like kind of like pulled at my heartstrings. So they bought the whipped tallow, and they emailed me back like a few weeks later and saying that it's helped their daughter so much that she's so happy. Like she's not afraid to hold her boyfriend's hand, and she's like more confident and secure with herself. And that's just such a sweet moment. And considering she's also a teenager, that obviously means a lot to somebody that age.
Huge deal. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's
That's a great rewarding experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very sweet. So there's, customer feedback, and then also, my first real big retailer. It's a local store here, California Fresh Market. It's just they believed in me, which like was so like I cried when they gave me an order, because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is huge. And they believed in me. They loved my product. I met with them in person several times, and it was such a huge moment for me. And the fact that they are so supportive. I'm still in their stores, and I believe I got into their store a year ago. It was about a year ago now. And just being able to put my foot into that door was so monumental for me. And then the confidence to get into more and more, and being able to succeed in that. It's very, very rewarding, and very humbling too, because it's a lot of work to get into there.
Yes. And there's like new requirements that aren't the same as boutique retailers, and new terms and new negotiation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not only am I educating my customers on tallow, these retailers are educating me on the business and getting into
and how it works.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me more about, let's talk about challenges. Like, I'm sure, as with any business, you've had your fair share of challenges. Are there any that you're willing to share, and how you overcame them, or are in the process of overcoming, if there's any?
Yeah, probably my biggest and like heartbreaking challenge was seeing my bank account go to zero multiple times. And
which I'm sure a lot of vendors can relate to.
Yes. Like there's countless times I would wake up in the morning to an email saying your account balance is zero. And, it just motivated me more to work harder, get the word out, show up everywhere. and just educate and make those connections and relationships. So that's probably my number one hardest.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to that, because you said that when that happened, you would be motivated to do more. And I've heard that from other founders that I've spoken to, founders at all different levels, right? How has that motivated you? Because for others, that might be a moment of like freezing up, stopping, like panicking and not knowing what to do. In your case, you took action. So what belief system do you have, or what do you believe, or what values do you have that sort of compel you to take that very scary moment of seeing like zero in your bank account to taking action and being motivated to take action?
The fact that I believe in my product so much, and I believe in myself so much, and also the fact that others believe in my product. That, I've had many jobs and careers in my past, but this is the one that isn't a job or a career, because it's a passion and I love it so much, and I show up every day and I love showing up. Like, it's not a chore. And so knowing that I need to work more, work harder, get myself out there more so I can get this product into these people's hands that enjoy it and need it so much. Like, I felt like a sense of responsibility also, that I need to continue to do this for them, as well as continuing to do it for myself.
Absolutely. Because in some way, it also brings you, in doing the work that you do, in creating these products and doing the work you do for other people, it also brings you a sense of confidence. The more you do it, the more confidence you build, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I told you back in April that this business has changed me, and I'm not the same person I was before I started this business. I've grown so much, like inward, outward. It's completely changed my life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That makes sense. I love that. That's the dream, right? Is like that it is transforming not just other people, but it's transforming you. And in transforming yourself, you then can give back to more and more people. You can give more of yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us more about, since, speaking of like being able to give more of yourself, you also have a family, you have 2 boys, you're balancing family, you're balancing life, you're balancing, growing your business. How do you sort of stay grounded in all the chaos, the ups and downs?
So one thing that's super important, it's like my meditation, is I work out in the mornings. I get up early, I go to the gym, I do my hour of cardio, and that just like kind of centers me and, gets me going for the day. And then my boys are in school. So while they're at school, I'm at home. Thankfully, I'm lucky enough to be here and work on my business and make the products and do all the things. And then in the evenings, like around dinner time is when I call it a day, because when my boys get home from school, they're doing homework, kind of doing their thing. And then when it comes to like dinner time, making dinner, I'm done. I'm done with work, and I'm 100% focused on my kids, because at that point, they're able to be 100% focused on me because I've already done their homework and all the things. Right. And it's actually turned into a nice little rhythm. We enjoy our evenings together, and, we watch movies, play games, and spend all this wonderful time together. And before, when I was doing all the markets, I was doing markets on weekends and evenings. And so that did take me away from my family quite a bit. And doing less markets. And now that I'm home with them. It has definitely helped my family life.
Oh,
by
That's
doing that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I think there's so many byproducts of growing a business, but you hit the nail on one of them, one of many, which is by allowing yourself to take some of these calculated risks, like hiring, right? Like hiring support, like showing up, consistently and making some scary investments that ultimately paid off, whether it be a month in or a few months in. You then opened up the space to also have more time with your family, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, my boys are getting older, so I have a little pocket of time left with them. So I'm going to eat every second up that I can. And
Absolutely.
I am grateful for my hires because, I'm not sitting here writing emails while my kids are sitting there waiting for my time and attention.
Yeah.
And so it definitely not only helps with the business, it helps with my life, and it also helps my kids as well.
Absolutely. And they can also see mom doing, growing a business, seeing how she works. And your kids sometimes help with the business, right? Your boys help with the business sometimes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And they like it, right?
They do. And they're actually pretty good at it. And I mean, they're motivated. I pay them. So that's a nice little motivation.
Of course. I mean, we're better to work. Like if they have their first job, right? As teens, we're better work than at mom's business.
Exactly. And it's just so fun to, work across the table from my boys, and I look up and they've got their head down and they're working. It's a very proud moment.
I love that. So tell us, what's the big vision for tallow? Like, we talking, global domination? Are we keeping it niche and personal? Do you want to sell the business at some point? What's the vision?
Definitely keeping it smaller and more niche. I'm not interested in the big box retailers. Just I personally feel like you lose that whole sense of why you start. And if I keep it small and niche and personal and in these littler grocery stores, I mean, they're not tiny, but they're not your Whole Foods. And just keeping it like within the family, because they're also family owned and they know the hustle, they know the business, and they also probably appreciate, I would assume, someone like myself who is smaller than them, but still, hustles and is small and just supporting one another.
And what would you say if someone did come to say they wanted to invest in the business or acquire the business? Would you say no or yes, or what would that look like?
I would say no. I really, I wake up every morning just ready to get after it, because it's like living and it's like breathing, and like this is my life. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else, and I can't imagine stopping.
Oh, I love that. And tell me, like, what are some goals or projects that you have on the horizon? I know you mentioned getting into more wholesalers. Are there any new products in the works? Give us a little sneak peek, maybe.
For sure, more wholesalers. I am thinking of doing another product, adding it sometime in 2025. It's another face product. I don't know if I should say it, but like a facial cleanser. Oh, no.
Well, we could decide if we want to remove it or not. But Hector, can you remove the name of the product? Or Kevin, if you could remove the name of the product that you just mentioned. We'll just keep it as like a sneak peek. Okay, thank you. So you have a new exciting product that you're working on.
Yes. In 2025, I plan to launch a new product. We'll just keep it a secret for now.
Yes. Even a
Yes.
secret. Okay.
Yes. But in 2025, I'm very excited for what the future brings, new markets, new grocery store names, new product, all the things.
And what's like the number one, what advice would you give to founders who are looking to start their own skincare brand or beauty brand, who are also looking to bootstrap their business? What advice would you give them?
I would just say keep going. Don't give up. If you're burnt out, take a day off. Don't. That's one thing that I do. If I'm just not feeling it one day, I'm just don't do it. And I think taking care of yourself and listening to those moments is very important. So then you don't have burnout. But also just keeping at it. If you see your bank account at zero, it's okay. You're not the first. You're not the last.
You're not the first. I think every single founder probably has that exact same story. So, yes.
And it's okay if it happens multiple times because it did for me. And, just listen to your heart and, show up consistently, take care of your customers, and take care of yourself.
I love that. Well, this is such a beautiful way to end this episode. Thank you, Tami, so much for joining me here today for an episode of Beauty and the Brand podcast. It was so wonderful to hear your whole story again and just kind of dive deeper into the whole journey that you've taken so far.
Well, thank you, Aggie. I appreciate it, and I had a really great time. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Until next time, I'll see you all on the next episode of Beauty and the Brand podcast. Bye, everyone.